It's not about caffeine, you guys. Who made it about caffeine? This is what's going to pull me away from orthodoxy a little. Oh, yeah. She's not actually in the quorum of the 12 apostles, though. There's nothing in the handbook. I'm halfway there on the first part of the question, and then I lose it on the second part of the question. I disagree with the handbook on this one. See, the scriptures kind of say both about that. Just abortion in general, there are exceptions in the handbook.
How do you see the world? Latter-day Saints all think the same, right? Well, turns out this isn't true. Some members are more progressive, while others are more traditional or orthodox. In addition, members have different points of view in which they see moral issues. Some come from more of a justice and law perspective, while others view things with more compassion and mercy. I created a quiz to map members of the church onto a spectrum of belief according to where they fall on the progressive orthodox scale and on the justice mercy scale. The quiz is exactly like the famous political compass quiz. You are given a series of audacious statements and must respond if you agree or disagree with them. The options are strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. There is no neutral. You must give a response. Furthermore, questions are designed to be somewhat vague and require interpretation. In fact, one might say the way you interpret things is what we're actually measuring.
Any questions?
No questions, but I do have a prediction, which will be I'm going to be orthodox in justice. The question is how much, and I think I'm going to be just moderately in each of those categories, but not super far. But we'll see. We'll see how this turns out.
Yes, we will see indeed. Okay, Luke Hanson. Do you agree, disagree, strongly disagree, or strongly agree with the sacrament should only be taken by worthy baptized members?
Okay. If memory serves, there's nothing in the handbook that says you have to be a worthy baptized member or in the scriptures. So I'm gonna go based on that knowledge, which might not be accurate. I'm gonna go with a slightly disagree on that one.
Abortion can be justified.
Oh, now, okay, so this is the thing. Abortion of convenience, absolutely not, never, 100% no. However, just abortion in general, there are exceptions in the handbook, and I don't dispute those exceptions. So I guess I will go with, how was the question worded? Abortion may be justified?
Abortion can be justified.
Okay. Is there a neutral option, or do you have to agree or disagree?
You have to agree or disagree. What do you think?
I felt like
just what's your reaction? Don't think too deeply.
You know what? I'm gonna actually say slightly that it can't be justified. I'm just gonna put it there, even though there are the exceptions. Just because when people say abortion, usually they're talking about like of convenience.
The church can never be in a state of apostasy.
The church. I'm gonna say no for the church.
So wait, so you agree with that statement?
The church can never be in a state of apostasy. I will put strongly agree.
Same-sex kissing violates the law of chastity.
Like, technically, the covenant you make in the temple doesn't cover that specific topic and how chastity is explained there. However, it definitely violates the spirit of it, and so I will put that it does violate the law of chastity.
Killing can be justified.
Yep, it can be. I'm actually going to put strongly on that one. I mean, You see Nephi explicitly told to. So I'll put strongly that it can be. Not that it often is, or that it is whenever you think it is, just that it can be.
Interesting, because, we're talking, the earlier question was abortion can be justified. This one, you switch the word abortion for killing, and you go from disagree all the way to strongly agree.
Yeah, mostly just because of how those words are viewed.
Okay. Everyone who wants to get to the celestial kingdom will get to the celestial kingdom.
I'm going to go slightly agree with that. just over this, what do you mean by wants to? Like, you want to be fit, but if you're not exercising, do you really want to be fit? So it's kind of like, yeah, you want to go to the celestial kingdom, but only the people who actually want to go to the celestial kingdom will definitely make it there. So
In heaven, a man and a woman are not required for creation of spirit children.
man and woman are not required for creation of spirit children.
To create spirit children.
Yeah, there's some spirit children, what is meant by that, what exactly is the spirit birth process, but I'm just going to go with a strongly disagree on that one.
Interesting. Emma Smith did nothing wrong.
Well, Emma Smith was not Jesus, and so she did do things wrong, just like everybody else. But specifically with what the question is probably referring to, maybe she didn't. So I'm going to just slightly disagree with that one.
All men should wear a white shirt and tie to church on Sundays.
I am torn between agree or strongly agree.
Okay, yeah, this one is a pretty hot topic one when it comes to this quiz.
It's definitely not doctrinal at all or anything like that, but I'm a big fan of church culture. People usually like to bash on church culture. Oh, it's not in the scriptures, so it's bad. It's like traditions of the fathers. No, there's good traditions that are not in the scriptures, and kind of this nice dress code is one of them. I will put slightly. I want to put strong, but I will put that I slightly agree.
It was wrong for Adam and Eve to partake of the fruit.
It was a transgression. Yes. It was good that they did it. Yes. So I will put slightly agree that it was wrong for them, but just with the understanding that that doesn't exclude it also being a good thing in some senses as well.
Okay, how about this one? Women will never hold the priesthood.
I will put strongly agree with that. It doesn't mean that understandings of how priesthood power works in each of the sexes doesn't develop over time, but in terms of being a holder of the priesthood, it doesn't seem like that's possible.
Progress from the telestial kingdom to the celestial kingdom is possible.
This is what's going to pull me away from orthodoxy a little bit, because I do think it's possible. I will slightly affirm that it is possible to move between them, just because it doesn't really make sense to me of like, okay, after the final judgment, now agency is done. Like, you can't ever choose to change after the final judgment. It just kind of seems like an arbitrary stopping point. So unless there's something we don't understand about, like, you will have definitely arrived at your final point that you're ever going to progress to in all your existence at the final judgment, I don't see how we can still affirm agency in the atonement and then reject progression after judgment. But I'm open to being wrong about that. I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's scriptures that make some of those claims hard to justify. I think in like the Book of Almanac, it's pretty explicit that, you know, this is the time. And then afterwards you're kind of...
Other people interpret that to mean like, look, even the Book of Mormon is talking about how that your doctrine of the spirit world is not a thing. But Joseph Smith went and changed that later. And so sometimes the Book of Mormon takes this strong view on something that might be...
The spirit world isn't a second chance, though, right?
Although people...
It's more for those who don't have the opportunity than it is for, like, I'm just going to do what I want here. You know, I think Bruce R. McConaughey and this Elder McConaughey was like, someone's husband was like, oh, I know, I'll just party and have fun, and I know you guys will baptize me when I die.
I remember this.
And he's like, that's not how it works. You don't get a second chance.
That is not how it works.
But anyway, no, it's definitely an interesting one, something that I kind of like go back and forth on, kind of open to different possibilities. Tithing should be paid before anything else, including taxes.
I will strongly agree with the principle that it's getting at. Like, technically, taxes are normally deducted right out of the paycheck, and so you can't, like, actually pay tithing before taxes, but priority-wise, I think is what it's saying, and I agree with that.
Excommunication, or it's not called that anymore, but what is it called now? Disfellowship? Just non-membership?
Removal of membership, something
Okay.
like that.
Well, either way, this was worded.
Excommunication. I'm fine with that word.
Excommunication is often unnecessary.
Often. I mean, I think it'd be unnecessary to excommunicate most people in my ward. So if that's what you mean by often.
Like,
However,
is it being
like in, like,
overused?
disciplinary council, the vast majority of the time excommunication is unnecessary. I will slightly disagree with that. Having never been in a disciplinary council myself, but I believe in the power of those who the Lord loveth, he chasteneth.
This one. Personal revelation is more important than anything the prophet says.
No, it can't supersede what the prophet says. But if it's talking about like it's more important to get personal revelation in terms of like a testimony than it is to study what the prophet says a ton. But then that's treating those like they're mutually exclusive. So I think I'm just going to strongly disagree with that. I'm just going to like take a stance and just strongly disagree with that statement.
Okay. Okay, another prophet one. One should always follow the prophet even if he is wrong.
Even if he is wrong. The question would assume that you would be able to know when he was wrong or not. And so I'm going to say that that would be a little prideful to assume that. And so the question is asking, one should always follow the prophet even if he's wrong. I will slightly agree with that. More so on the principle of one should not assume, or one should be very careful to assume that one is able to determine when the prophet is wrong or not.
Referring to members as brother or sister is uncharitable because it is not inclusive language.
Ah. Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
No further comment.
Here's an interesting one. Pornography addiction could disqualify someone from entering the temple.
Yeah. I would slightly agree. It's kind of goes back to that same thing of like who's determining when it's addiction, when it's not. But I'll put strongly agree.
It is very difficult to make it to the celestial kingdom.
See, the scriptures kind of say both about that in some sense. Like, straight is the gate, narrow is the way, few there be that find it. The parable of who was it? Anyway, the parables about a lot of people not making it to heaven.
Yeah.
Celestial kingdom's hard to get to.
It's inversion.
I'll put slightly agree.
Okay. All right.
But it's like not at the same time. If you believe in Jesus, if you accept him, if you apply the atonement.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put yes.
Okay. Yeah. See, I think it had to be hard because the atonement was hard. So
we are supposed to be like Christ.
It might be easier for us, but it definitely doesn't mean it was easy. It depends on who we're thinking about here.
If you have a hard job, but you feel like you never do a day of work in your life because you like it, is it still a hard job? Like, I'll just say slightly agree that it's hard.
Okay. Decaf coffee is not against the word of wisdom.
Okay. So the word, it's not about caffeine, you guys. Who made it about caffeine? I don't know who did.
Elder Bruce R. McConkie. It's in his Mormon doctrine book.
The word of wisdom is about the Lord wanting a peculiar people. Honestly,
I agree with that. Yeah.
And he's just kind of like, hey, a lot of people do this kind of stuff. Are you willing not to do this kind of stuff to be a member of my church? And I'm like, sure. I'm not going to try to make up all these weird extra rules. Like, well, what the word of wisdom really means is also that you shouldn't drink Monsters all day, every day. No, it doesn't say that. It does not say that. You're trying to pull out a principle, and it says like follow this general principle of like follow the experts' health. No, it doesn't say follow the experts' health advice on stuff. It lays out these things that you shouldn't have, and then asks you if you're willing to do that or not, and promises blessings if you are. I forgot if the question was worded in the affirmative or the negative, But
Then
I'm
it's
saying
saying
no.
it's not against the word of wisdom. So you're saying
Yeah, if it's decaf coffee, it's still coffee, so it's definitely against the word of wisdom.
so you strongly
Strongly, yeah.
you strongly disagree that it is not against the word of wisdom. So you say that it is against the word of wisdom. All right. It is appropriate and good to pray to Heavenly Mother.
No. I will slightly disagree with it. I won't strongly, I'll just slightly. There's a lot worse things that you could be doing, but that doesn't mean that it's appropriate.
It is not possible to be born into the wrong body.
In the sense of the transgender movement, that is correct. In the sense of if you're born with an extra appendage, that means that your celestial body has an extra appendage. No.
Is that the wrong body, though? Or is that just a defect on the right body?
Well, exactly, but maybe having the wrong genitalia is a defect on the right body. So
Maybe.
but it's using the language of the transgender movement, which I totally reject, and so I will say strongly agree, right? This is an agree one. Strongly agree
Yes.
that it is not possible to be born into the right body,
All right.
the wrong body.
It is wrong to exclude transgender individuals from the temple.
No. It is, well, what do you mean by transgender individuals? People who suffer from gender dysphoria or people who are practicing expressing themselves as a gender that they are not? I'm going
What do
to
you think
assume that the question
transgender
is,
means?
I'm going to assume that it's talking about a person who is living as a transgender person, not a person just suffering from gender dysphoria. And so it is not wrong to exclude them from the temple for that practice that they're engaged in.
You strongly
And I will
disagree.
strongly disagree, yes.
You strongly disagree that it's wrong to exclude transgender individuals from the temple.
That it's not wrong. The question say it is wrong or it's not wrong.
It says it is wrong to exclude transgender.
So then I will strongly disagree.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sometimes this is like, wait, it's a not.
Yeah, I need like a little
Agree,
paddle.
disagree.
It's like not
Yeah.
is if it's an affirmative or a negative statement.
All mistakes are equal in the eyes of God.
No. I think, of course, in the general sense, no unclean thing, but we're talking like how off the mark do you get, and all sins do not equally take you off the mark, and so not all sins. But I'll put soft, slightly. Is it how is it even worded on the thing?
It's just agree, disagree, and then strongly
And then
on
strong.
the other two.
And so I will just say that I disagree that all sins are equal.
Doctrine is not well defined and therefore is not of value to discuss.
I'm halfway there on the first part of the question, and then I lose it on the second part of the question. And so I have to disagree with that statement. There is an aspect to which
disagree.
I'll just disagree because I somewhat see what the first half of the question is saying of like, there's not, here are the 15 things that are the doctrine and
You mean like the
an
Articles of
immutable
Faith?
list that never gets revised. I understand that
Just kidding.
aspect of it, but when it, I understand that aspect of it, but then when you try to say, and therefore we shouldn't even talk about it, it's not a fruitful discussion. And no. Like there are things that we know are doctrine. Everybody knows it. It's just that maybe the particular thing I say is doctrine, you don't say, and so you try to dismiss the whole conversation by hand waving it away with like this, oh, doctrine is not well defined. Why are we even talking about this? So
I've heard people
disagree, but not strongly
almost that
disagree.
exact thing. All right. Stealing is always wrong.
Stealing is always wrong. See, this is like the same thing as the abortion and the killing. Like Jean Valjean, was it wrong for him to steal that loaf of bread? You know, with stealing, No, I'm actually going to say no. Stealing is not always wrong.
Okay.
I'm going to say no, just because it's not like a politically charged thing, and so like the term stealing doesn't have all these implications under it. So yes, there's probably instances where you're running away from the serial killer and the car is sitting there with the keys in the ignition and you get in and run away, and that's not a wrong thing that you did. So
You
I'll
give
just,
it
I'll
back,
just
though.
disagree.
What if you never give it back?
I'm gonna be such a progmo in this thing. That's true. Is it stealing if you,
If you give it back, or what if the verbiage was
or
different?
at
What if
least
it
like
said
intended
theft?
to? Theft.
Yeah.
Okay, theft. Okay, I will change my answer then. Theft is always wrong. I'll say yes. It's thinking about it in the sense of like theft of like depriving somebody of their possessions for the sake, like for the action itself. That is always wrong. So I will agree, but not strongly.
Well, it does say stealing, though. I don't want to like change too much about how you see this, but
No, you've convinced. I've convinced myself.
I was gonna say I'm not trying to convince anything. I'll just ask a question.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like I was getting a little too in the weeds with over analyzing that one. So I'll just go with a solid.
You could get in the
agree that
weeds
it's
on
wrong. Not
a lot of
strongly
these.
agree, but just agree that it's wrong.
Okay. How about this one? It is possible that one day a woman will be a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
No, I'm gonna put strongly disagree.
The Community of Christ says otherwise.
Oh yeah, she's not actually in the quorum of the 12 apostles though.
Wait, what? I thought, is she not?
No, like
The
I'm saying that they don't have a real quorum of 12 apostles.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm making a dig
I
on
was
them.
like,
Yeah.
Did they? I thought there was some kind of scandal of like
No.
they dropped him out or something. I was like, wait, what?
Okay, she's like the president of the church, right?
I
or
think
at least-
now, yeah. Or
Yeah, I don't know.
Something. She's pretty high.
Can't say I follow that religion too closely.
Well, hardly anyone does. I'm just kidding. All right, here's an interesting one that is now even more so in the news recently than it was when I first wrote this question. So this is interesting. The shape and style of garments is primarily driven by culture.
That word primarily, the shape and style. Primarily.
Yeah.
I will just disagree with that. I feel like if you asked me on another day, I might say agree, but I will go disagree this time.
All right.
Just because they still have a purpose as a piece of clothing, and so there's certain parameters that they need to fit within to still serve their function.
Yeah.
And so I think they're primarily driven by that function that they need to serve, and not primarily by cultural.
But the shape, though, and style, you can have.
Well, the shape, to me, the shape is kind of like, well, it needs to be people shaped. Like, and it's under clothing. It's not like you're adding extra bumps and shoulder pads or anything.
Well, sure, but yeah. Well, I'm talking like V-neck, sleeves, that kind of shape.
Oh, I just kind of fooped that under style.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially getting at style and whatnot. Like, anyway, that's one. Okay.
I don't see a V-neck versus a crew cut. Is that what it's called? Crew cut. Garment as being markedly different from each other.
Okay.
And so I'll just disagree with that statement.
All right. The next one: the prophet cannot lead you astray.
Ooh, I'm gonna say strongly agree. I'll say strongly agree.
So you believe President Wilford Woodruff when I think he's the one who first said that. So.
Yeah, because I see lead you astray as like lead you away, like completely away from the gospel of Jesus Christ. Some people interpret that to mean like if he said a wrong thing one time, then that means he led you astray. But I just don't see it that way. That's too black and white thinking to be like anything he does that's not 100% right means he led you astray. Nah.
Eternal marriage has and will always be between one man and one woman.
Yes, strongly agree. even polygamy was still individual sealings between
I was just gonna ask.
one woman.
Polygamy,
Yeah.
Luke.
Nope.
Polygamy.
I cut you off before you even got to say it.
All right.
Here's a famous quote. Let's see if you agree or disagree. As man now is, God once was. As God now is, man may be. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm going to agree with that. It's just that what exactly does that mean? It doesn't tell us.
It says that God once was, as man is.
Yeah.
So,
And what is man?
God
What is man
is
is
a man.
on planet Earth? You know, in the Milky Way galaxy, in a fallen world,
Yes, yes.
in a state of progression, having an imperfect body. What state of is was God in that we are in now?
See,
don't
now
know,
you
it
just
doesn't
sound like a
specify.
Bill Clinton. What does is mean?
Or Jordan Peterson.
Or Jordan Peterson. Well, didn't Bill Clinton famously say, like, depends on what the word is, or was it is, or was it, or I can't remember, like when he was being accused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah,
this
but-
is, I mean, it's like, well, it's a couplet, like it's a poem. Like
Yes.
it's supposed to not have a concrete, super technical, systematic theological definition. So
Hey, well, if
when
you
people
ask-
comport and like, so what it means is, and
Hey,
then
well,
add
when
on
you
all
couple
this
it with
stuff
The
on.
King Follett Discourse and teachings from
That's
Brigham
not.
Young.
It's not in there.
and
It's
teaches
just not
later
in
on.
there.
Well, yeah, I actually agree with you, but
That has to be discussed, because reading it on the surface level, like you have to dig into a little bit deeper. to
Yeah,
come to that conclusion.
But I'm not going to run away from the statement just because some people overinterpret it.
a gay man could be called as an apostle.
I think what it means, what the question is saying, is a practicing gay man, but it doesn't actually say that. I'm just going to put agree in the sense that somebody who experiences same-sex attraction could be called as an apostle. I'm sure most of the current apostles have experienced opposite-sex attraction to somebody other than their wife. That doesn't mean they're disqualified from being called as apostle.
good point.
Good point. Yeah, the word there is like depends on what you mean by gay, because it doesn't say same-sex attracted. It just says gay. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, you decide. All right, this next one, Craigie's favorite. War is never justified. Or maybe Jonah's favorite. You had like a whole discussion.
Yeah,
with
that's
him about
probably
war.
Jonah's favorite one.
Yeah,
Or maybe
okay,
he'll say that it's my favorite one. No,
I've already-
absolutely, war can be justified.
You strong
That
man.
doesn't mean every
Disagree.
yeah, this is strongly, war is never justified, so I strongly disagree. And that doesn't mean that anytime somebody gives a justification for war, it's a correct justification. It just means that it can be.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The temple recommend interview is a necessary and important process to determine worthiness.
I'm going to say agree. I agree with that. I don't strongly agree with it because I don't think it has to be the way that it is now, but it seems to be the best way to do it that we have.
The Book of Mormon is historically accurate.
I strongly agree. It doesn't say historically perfect, it just says historically accurate, and I definitely think that it is.
So President Nelson said the Book of Mormon shouldn't be considered a history book.
At one
Yes,
point.
correct. That so we're dividing if it's telos, if its purpose, if its function is as a history, versus does the historical claims that it happens to make pan out and turn out to be
Yeah.
accurate.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to get some clarification there. Here's a fun one. Legally concealed firearms should be welcome at Sunday service.
Oh yeah, I disagree with the handbook on this one. Welcomed,
You disagree.
it almost
but
sounds like you're
brethren-
encouraging it. It sounds like you're encouraging it kind of if you say welcome.
They
I
should
might
be
have worded the
welcome.
question to be allowed but I will agree. I think they should be allowed. The handbook kind of doesn't allow them right now, and that's
Right.
just odd to me.
Here's one. Ultimately, leaving the church can be a good thing.
No, I'll put strongly disagree. And when I mean that, I mean like the church as in the thing that Jesus Christ restored to the earth. There might
Yeah.
be cases where some sort of mental trauma has happened that God is not gonna, not that he's gonna excuse it, but that there's gonna be some empathy at Judgment Day if you stepped away due to some sort of hurt that happened on like a personal level between people. But that's you stepping away from that person who happened to be part of the church. But like stepping away from the church, the institution that Christ gave to the world to administer the covenants that draw someone to him, then of course that has to be wrong to leave that thing.
The prodigal son, was it better for him in the long term that he left and then came back?
I don't think so. No.
All right.
I mean,
Look,
it even says it, like it even says to the older son, like you're still getting the inheritance and the younger son is not. So it even kind of
Yeah.
explicitly says that in the parable.
Okay. How about this one? Doctrine is eternal and unchanging.
Yes, I will strongly agree with that, but with the recognition that we've kind of done like a weird thing and redefined a word to mean something that it doesn't mean in common usage. Like in the dictionary, you're not going to find that understanding of the word doctrine, but the way that it's been explained, the doctrine behind the word doctrine nowadays in the church
Yeah. What
is
do you
that
think
it
doctrine
is those pure, immutable truths.
Truth.
So doctrine to you is a synonym, is synonymous
Yeah,
with
in the
truth.
modern LDS usage of the term.
Okay, we only got 2 more questions here. Next one is Brigham Young was racist.
Everyone was racist. Everyone was racist. So I'm gonna put disagree. I'll put disagree with that.
Disagree. So Brigham Young was racist. You disagree. And then
Yeah, just to try to get out of like a presentist mindset from it. I think for his day, that Brigham Young pushed against the racism of his day. So he came out still being racist to 21st century standards, but the direction he moved in was away from that relative to his culture.
any excess tithing funds should go directly to helping the poor.
No, they should go to Ensign Peak. We should make it 1 trillion as fast as possible. Strongly disagree with that.
Make
The
it true.
excess tithing should be used however the First Presidency and Quorum of the 12 determine them to be used. That's how they should be used.
Boom. There is your result. Do you see it?
I see that you are sharing. Oh man, I'm like way over there.
You're very orthodox. That is somewhat surprising.
And
I'm actually surprised by that. I disagreed with the gun thing. Apparently, I
Yeah.
got the sacrament thing wrong as well. I think the only thing I kind of was unorthodox about was moving between kingdoms and firearms in church.
You landed in the Orthodox Justice Quadrant. This quadrant is characterized by a firm alignment with traditional church teachings and a strong emphasis on justice, accountability, and obedience to established doctrine. Those in this category are often deeply committed to upholding the standards of the church and believe in a God who expects moral discipline and adherence to divine law. They see following the straight and narrow path as essential and believe that blessings and salvation are tied to living according to clear, established principles. Does that sound like it describes you?
I would say so. I would say yes.